So
Chair,
go ahead.
all I want is an apology for putting my safety and security in jeopardy by a member of this committee. That is all I am asking. And I can tell you how much hate I have received on social media. I can read it into the record, how many emails I have received, how many phone calls, people calling me and telling me that because a member feels that I turned my back to him. And I am just trying to look out for myself, Chair. I am trying to look out for my safety. No, Chair, you know, you have talked over me and over me and over me, and all I am looking for is an apology, and I am looking for a deletion of that tweet. That is all I am asking for, Chair.
So can I ask, why are
Everyone
we...
has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. Hey gang, what's up? Just Ehren right here, Question Period Canada. You recognize IQRA KHALID from the introduction. She's a troublemaker all the time in these committee meetings. Seems this time she's the one offended by Larry Brock's comment last week. This committee meeting, guys, these committee meetings, come and join us. These are nuts. Let's take a peek at IQRA KHALID fighting the world.
Take the information. I am going to go back and discuss this with the clerk and come back with a later ruling. So that's what I'm prepared to do at this point. Okay, so thank you for raising that, Mr. Baines. So
I'm sorry, just seeking clarification, Chair. What does that mean?
it means I'm going to come back with a ruling on the question of privilege once I look at all of the information that's been presented by Mr. Baines, other information as it relates to what's in the book, and some of the discussion that went on in the past.
Do you mean in a few minutes? He has to come back now.
And so just for clarity as well, that it's not me that is going to determine whether there's a question of privilege here. It's only the Speaker that can decide that. What will happen once I come back and determine whether, in fact, I believe that a question of privilege is necessitated here, is that there would be a motion of the committee to proceed and prepare this for the Speaker of the House. So that's how the process would work, okay? So at this point, I am not prepared to make a ruling. I'm going to go back and deliberate with the clerk, and I will come back to the committee, not within the time period that's prescribed here, but at a later date as well. So if you have a point of order, go ahead, Ms. Khalid.
Thanks, Chair. My understanding from the Green Book and from our standing orders is that the role of the chair in such instances is to determine whether the matter raised does in fact touch on privilege and is not a point of order, a grievance, or a matter of debate. If the chair is of the opinion that the member's interjection deals with a point of order, a grievance, or a matter of debate, or that the incident is within the powers of the committee to deal with, the chair will rule accordingly, giving reasons. The committee cannot then consider the matter further as a question of privilege. Should a member disagree with the chair's decision, the member can appeal the decision to the committee, like, for example, moving a motion or sustaining the decision of the chair, for example. The committee can then sustain that decision. So I really would encourage that we can come to a conclusion on this sooner rather than later, Chair, as is the precedent set by previous chairs.
Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate the information that you have provided, but it's also my understanding, Ms. Khalid, and I've confirmed this, that I can take my time to deliberate on this issue, and that is what I am prepared to do, given the seriousness of what Mr. Baines has brought up. So I don't have to make a decision right away. That's very clear to me, and I'm not prepared to make a decision at this point. I'm going to come back to the committee in due course after I consult with the clerk, and as I indicated earlier, that will not be today. So that's my decision.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
On a point of order, go ahead.
I would ask you to consult with the clerk as to whether you have the right to go away and make a decision on this. This, according to the Green Book, has to be made as a decision today so that Mr. Baines can or will not be able to move a motion.
Mr. Rock,
Mr. 154.
Mr. Fisher has the floor.
Based on what...
I am pretty sure that I've already looked into this, and I am certain that no decision has to be made today, that I can actually come back to the committee. I'm certain of that, Mr. Fisher, so go on the same point of order. Go ahead, Ms. Khalid.
If we can just perhaps have a decision as to whether or not this matter presented to you is a matter of privilege or not, and then you can rule on it at a later time.
Well, herein lies the difficulty. As I explained earlier, I am not sure whether it actually constitutes a matter of privilege. And I think it's unfair of that expectation to be placed on me. When we deal with questions of privilege in the House, oftentimes the Speaker will bring information back, will go back and seek information either by the clerk or the law clerks in determining whether it's a question of privilege or not. So if you're asking me to make a decision today, I think first and foremost, I don't have to make that decision. Secondly, I can go back and consult with the clerk and others on whether, in fact, I believe this is a question of privilege. If I do believe that, then I come back to the committee. I make that decision, and the committee can move forward in a proper manner. If I decide that it's not a question of privilege, then the committee can move back in a proper format and matter. I am not prepared at this point, nor do I believe I have to be prepared to decide on the question of privilege that Mr. Baines has raised. Go ahead, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Chair, and you are right. You aren't asked to judge whether this is a point of privilege. You're not asked to come back at a later date to determine whether this is a point of privilege. You are, however,
for the purposes
to determine today whether it touches on privilege. That's all the Chair's role is whether this touches on
and
privilege.
I think I've already explained myself in that regard. I realize exactly what you're saying is what I realize and what I understand. If I do determine, and I'm not prepared to deal with that today or determine that today, given the seriousness of the nature of what Mr. Baines has brought up, then I can come back and say, in my view, at a later point, whether I do or don't believe this touches on a question of privilege, and then it'll be up to the committee to determine what it wants to do at that point, whether it wants to raise it to the House and then eventually to the Speaker for him to determine. I understand my responsibility. As much as I understand my responsibility and the option that I'm choosing, given the seriousness of this nature, to not determine at this point whether it raises a question of privilege or not. I have to go back. I'm going to consult with the clerks. I'm going to consult with parliamentary law clerks, and then come back and give my determination at that point. Go ahead, Mr. Kirk, on a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And just to ensure that there is absolute clarity, when it comes to Chapter 20, subheading Questions of Privilege in Committee, it does not, in fact, say that a ruling is required today. So just so that those watching and whatnot, for the edification of all committee members, the Bosch and Gagnon is very clear that there is not a time limit, although, of course, the reasonable expectation is expeditiously, and I think we all appreciate that. But I would conclude with this and simply saying I find that it's troubling that the governing party would push for a decision which certainly I think underlies motives that seem to be nothing more than pure political.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk. I'm quite clear on the fact that no decision has to be made today, and that the chair can take his time or her time to render a decision to the committee. On the same point of order, go ahead, Ms. Khalid.
Thank you, Chair. Page 623 of the book. Proceedings of the House are based on a long-standing tradition of respect for the integrity of all members. Thus, the use of offensive, provocative, or threatening language in the House is strictly forbidden. Personal attacks, insults, and obscenities are not in order. And I think that based on what I've heard today, that is exactly rules that have been broken.
Okay, thank
so,
you.
Chair,
Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
I challenge your ruling.
I haven't. I made a. Hold on a sec. My ruling is that I'm going to come back to the committee, which I think is the prudent and pragmatic thing to do. You're challenging my ruling on coming back to the committee so that I can look at this in a fair manner and make a proper decision. Is that what you're challenging me on, Ms. Khalid? Seriously?
I am challenging the integrity and what decisions have been made, how much abuse members of this committee have taken.
Well, that's subject to your opinion. And I think
it is not subject to opinion, Chair. That's the whole point of it.
It is.
That is what the Green Book, that is what our standing orders are telling you, Chair, to do.
I'm not determining whether you
Chair,
have.
you are under obligation to make sure
I'm not going to argue with you.
I'm not going
to argue with you on this. There is no decision to challenge because the decision that I'm dealing with is on the question of privilege. And I have told the committee that I'm taking this matter seriously and that I'm going to come back to the committee with a determination whether I think, after I look at all of the evidence, including, some of the things that the accusations that have been made, I think it's fair and prudent on my part to do that. And so I don't think you have anything to challenge, Ms. Khalid, to be frank. So I'm going to come back to the committee. That's my decision.
Just can I make one more point of order, Mr. Chair?
One more point of order.
So
Go ahead.
you're going to go away and come back to determine whether you feel that this touches on privilege.
Which is my responsibility, whether in fact I think Mr. Baines has a valid point and that his privileges were in fact violated. And then I make a recommendation to the committee, and then it's up to the committee to determine whether in fact they're going to move forward with this and bring this to the House in front of the Speaker for the ultimate determination. That's how the process works. And so I'm prepared to do that, not today, but at the earliest opportunity, which will give me some time to consult with the clerks, the law clerks, to determine whether in fact this touches on parliamentary privilege. On Mr. Baines.
Just on this, can you then set a timeline, make a determination?
At the earliest opportunity. I'm not sure that the Speaker even sets a timeline when he deals with questions of privilege. Let me do my work. Let me consult with the clerks, and then I'll come back, and the law clerks, and then I'll come back and make a decision. So that could be by Thursday at the earliest. I'm taking this matter seriously, and I'm going to deal with it in the seriousness in which it's raised. So, okay? Thank you. Hang on a sec. So now that we've dealt with that, I'm just going to remind committee members that we are back on committee business.
Chair, I have another point of order.
Go ahead on your point of order, Ms. Khalid, please.
Thank you. And my point of order refers specifically to Chapter 13 of the House of Commons Procedure and Practice, 3rd edition, on the Standing Order number 18, on Standing Order 116 sub 1. And it is in relation to actions that Mr. Brock on this committee took against me last week in putting out a public statement that put myself in jeopardy, that created a lot of negative angst towards me, and I believe that it violates the standing orders that have been laid out with respect to how parliamentarians are supposed to conduct themselves in the House and in the committee. This is not the first time this has been done, and I would hope that this is the last time that it is done, and I'm more than happy, Chair, to start reading to you.
Yeah, Ms. Khalid, I'm going to stop you there because I'm not sure whether was it related to committee business?
Indeed it was, Chair. It was very much related to committee business, where Mr. Brock filibustered.
Point of order.
Was it in the meeting itself?
Yes, it
That's
was,
what I have to be
indeed.
clear.
Point of order.
Go ahead on your point of order, Mr. Kirk.
So I believe that
I
it's
still
not a
have the
point of
floor, Mr.
order
Chair.
that was raised, but rather, Mr. Chair, I would encourage you to follow the speaking list because that certainly sounds like a substantive item of debate, and if Ms. Khalid wants to move a motion accordingly,
So Ms. Khalid,
she is
Ms. Khalid
welcome
did
to,
bring
but
up
Mr. Barrett has the...
she did
is
bring
next
up a
on the
point
list.
of order. So on your point of order, Ms. Khalid,
I haven't finished speaking to my point of order, if that's okay.
They have what?
I have not finished speaking to my point of order.
okay, so
I would like to outline exactly what happened that helped violate the rules that I have pointed out, which is standing order number 18, standing order 116.
If you feel that way, would you
sub
not
one.
want to raise a point of privilege then, similar to what Mr.
I am
Baines
raising a
did?
point of order because clearly, Chair, you're going to take a while to rule on any points of privilege. Sure. You know what? In that case, I would be more than happy to do a point of privilege in that case then.
Okay. So we have another question of privilege being brought up by Ms. Khalid. So if you want to go ahead, Ms. Khalid, on your point of privilege.
Absolutely, Chair. Last week, which was May 21st, I believe, during committee, Mr. Brock put out a tweet that said, disrespect in ethics committee, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. The level of disrespect from IQRA KHALID during committee is beyond words. Her back is literally turned towards committee members, disgraceful. Now, my understanding of the orders, the standing orders, and the rules for House procedure is that this tweet violates my privilege, Chair, and I will show you exactly how. So I will read to you some of the emails that I have received. I will talk to you about some of the
Point of
phone
order,
calls
Chair.
that I have received. No, please don't
Point of order,
interrupt
Chair.
my privilege here.
Point of order, Chair.
Just bear with me here. I'm going to suspend for a minute. Okay? Thank you. When we left off, I appreciate the patience of everyone. We were on Ms. Khalid's question of privilege. I'm going to ask her to continue, but I'm also going to ask, similarly to what I asked of Mr. Baines, I want this, a question of privilege should be as succinct as it needs to be in relation to the privileges of the member being violated. Now, I know, Ms. Khalid, that you mentioned something about a Twitter post from last week that occurred. Okay. I'm not. I'm going to say this with respect, that I'm not interested in becoming the Twitter police. Okay. No,
Chair, you know what,
no, but let me explain. If you have an issue with the actions of a member that you feel violated your privilege, then I'm asking you to state specifically where that violation occurred. The outside circumstances or the opinions of others does not matter to this committee. What matters is whether a member feels like their privileges have been violated. I'm also going to remind members as well, and I'm reminding you, Ms. Khalid, that anything that happens outside of this committee, whether it's a social media post or otherwise, is a matter that can be taken up by the Speaker of the House of Commons. And we've seen in the past where points of orders or questions of privileges have been raised in the House of Commons, and the Speaker has, in some circumstances, ruled on that. So any form of litigation related to this, any Twitter messages, because look, frankly, I'm going to speak frankly to the committee. I mean, we can go down a very deep rabbit hole on the issue of
Point of order,
Twitter.
Chair. I'm not sure why you're litigating this matter. I would like to speak for what I have, what I have experienced based on the actions
Right.
of committee members.
So explain the actions.
So I
That's
am
the point I'm
absolutely
making,
trying to do
right?
that, Chair. But you're.
But I'm not. But I don't, Ms. Khalid. Respectfully, I don't want to be the Twitter police. I don't want to be a determining factor or the determinant of what's appropriate or what's not. We can do that in relation to what a member's action is, but I'm not interested in some numbered Twitter feed of what they're saying.
That's what I'm trying to speak to, Chair. That is exactly
so I'm going to
what
allow
I'm
you to
trying to speak to.
continue with that expectation. So go
Chair,
ahead.
all I want is an apology for putting my safety and security in jeopardy by a member of this committee. That is all I am asking. And I can tell you how much hate I have received on social media. I can read it into the record, how many emails I have received, how many phone calls, people calling me and telling me that I'm a fucking cunt because a member feels that I turned my back to him. And I am just trying to look out for myself, Chair. I am trying to look out for my safety. No, Chair, you know, you have talked over me. And over me and over me, and all I am looking for is an apology, and I am looking for a deletion of that tweet. That is all I am asking for, Chair.
So can I ask, why are we utilizing committee time? If you have a problem with what Mr. Brock said,
Chair,
you can approach Mr. Brock.
Respectfully, Chair, I don't believe that is possible. When the actions that are highlighted on social media during committee by members have severe consequences for somebody like myself. I'm sorry, Chair, I am not a terrorist. I am not a cunt. I am not the 100 gazillion things that I get called on a daily basis because my colleagues put me in that position, Chair. Can you please stop cutting me off?
Point of order, Chair.
I am
asking for some decorum.
I am trying very hard, Chair,
Point of order, Chair.
to get my viewpoint across here, to raise a very severe
Just hang on,
concern.
Michael. I hear your point of order. So, Ms. Khalid, I'm going to ask.
Why am I
Chair.
the only person in this room that keeps getting cut off here,
Point of order, Chair.
I'm not. He's got a point of order. I'm going to go to. I'm going to go to Mr. Barrett on a point of order, similarly to what I do with you when you raise a point of order. Okay, and I'm going to ask. For the sake of the interpretation, that we not cut each other off. Okay, Mr. Barrett, on your point of order, please.
Chair,
Go ahead.
the member is citing correspondence and calls that are not from a member of this committee and that were not solicited or invited by a member of this committee. And Chair,
Mr.
Chair, no,
Mr.
Chair,
Mr.
Chair,
Barrett.
These calls
I hear your
came
point,
strictly
sir.
from
Okay.
So this
a
is
tweet
again
from that
gratuitous.
member
This has
while
nothing
committee
to
was still
do.
occurring.
This has nothing to
No,
do
no,
with
Chair.
my colleague.
Khalid,
This has nothing to do with
please,
my
Mr. Barrett.
colleague.
Him off too,
I
Chair.
am.
This has nothing to do with my
But
colleague.
I can't have
has
screaming
nothing to do with
across the
Michael.
table. I can't have screaming across the table for the sake.
gender-biased statement to make.
Well,
Chair,
I
Mr.
can't
Fisher
have
and Ms.
loud
Khalid both
voices.
interrupted me while I was on a point of order.
okay, just hang on a sec. Okay, just hang on with your thoughts there, Mr. Barrett. Okay, so I've heard both points of order. I've heard Ms. Khalid's question of privilege.
Mr. Chair, point of order. You did not hear Ms. Khalid's point of privilege. She did not get to speak to her point of privilege.
I think
she was cut off
okay.
continuously by both the chair and members with points of order.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. What do you think, gang? Point of order, Mr. Chair. What is going on in these committee meetings? We do get the best of the best. Larry Brock, Garnet Genu, Rick Perkins, Michael Chong, Michael Cooper, Shannon Stubbs, Michael Barrett, with Stephanie Kusi. The list goes on and on. They're always super interesting. Something else that's super interesting is the live show that we cover. We cover every question period daily broadcast. It's fun. Come join the community. It's a fun chat room if you like that kind of thing. We keep it clean, but we're learning about Canadian federal politics, and we'll continue with that and these series of videos about the committee meetings. So like, subscribe, get notified, share, all that fun stuff. Check out one of the other videos floating around here. We'll catch you next video. Thank you very much for watching this one. Also, check out our live broadcast. It's really fun. Like, subscribe, get notified, and share. All those fun things. We'll catch you next video. Thanks for watching.